Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our service today, I'm going to kindly ask that we silence or turn off all cell phones, electronic devices. Thank you.
Rabbi Michael Davies.
Ashrei Ha'ish, Asher lo halach batzat rishaim, v'derech hatem lo amad v'moshav leitzim lo yashav. Ki b'torat Adonai chefzo v'torato yageh yomam v'layla. V'akeit shatul al palgei mayim asher priyo yitain bito v'alei lo yibol, v'chol asher yaseh yatzliach. Lochein harishaim kim kamotz asher tedefenu ruach, al kein lo yakumu rishaim b'mishpat, v'chateim ba'adat tzadikim, Ki yodea Adonai derech tzadikim, v'derech rishaim tovei. Happy is the one who has not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the path of sinners, nor sat in the company of the scornful. Rather, that one's delight is in the Torah of the Lord, meditating in God's Torah day and night. And will be like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in season, whose leaf will not wither, and whatever that one does prospers. For the Lord loves the ways of the righteous, but the way of the wicked perishes.
Rabbi Mordechai Miller.
Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roya le'achzar, b'nois deshe abitzeni, al menuchas and aleni. Nafshi shoyve v'yanchein v'magle tzedek l'man shemai. Gam ke'elech b'geitz ha'moves, lo iro ro, ki ato imodi. Shiftecho mishantcho hemi nachmuni, tarech lefonai shulchan neged soyroi, t'shanta b'shem roishi, koisi voyo. Ach toi v'chesed yedefuni koyimei chayai v'shavti beveis Adonai lo'erech yomim. A song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God causes me to lie down in his lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. God restores my soul and guides me in righteous paths for God's name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear no evil, for you are with me. Your scepter and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in a full view of my adversaries. You've anointed my head with oil, and my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life. I shall dwell in the house of Hashem for the length of days.
Fred would coach each of our boys as they prepared to deliver their bar mitzvah speeches. He would listen to them practice, and he would constantly remind them, enunciate each word slowly, clearly. Overwhelmed with emotion and grief over the loss of a father figure to me and to all of us, I will do my best to live up to the excellence Fred sought to draw from within each of us, and I will try to enunciate each word slowly, clearly. The Hebrew language does not contain any synonyms. It is simply unnecessary. Hebrew words that appear to have similar meanings each have their own uniqueness and flavor. Interestingly, there are 3 Hebrew words used to describe a cemetery. Beis HaKvaris, a place of burial. Beis Olam, eternal resting place. And Beis HaChayim, the house of the living. Tradition teaches that these three unique descriptions of a cemetery reflect three types of people who pass through this earthly phase of life. The first type of person lives for the here and now, enjoying every material pleasure this wondrous planet has to offer, with little to no regard for the eternal spiritual nature of life. When this type of person passes away, their body is interred in a Beis HaKvaris, a place of burial, to signify that sadly, this person utilized this world to bury themselves, and that upon passing, the life has ended and is buried. The second type of person also enjoys the material pleasures this wondrous planet has to offer. However, it is enjoyed with intentionality, with the intent to develop a spiritual forever. Eating a portion of delicious Rebbitzin prepared cholent or broccoli salad, prefaced by a sincere thank you blessing to the Almighty, is an example of transforming material bounty into eternal spirituality. When this type of person passes away, their body is interred in a Beis Olam, an eternal resting place, to signify that this person utilized this world to build their eternity, and that upon passing, this life will continue in future phases for all eternity. The third type of person not only lives with the intentionality to transform material bounty into eternal spirituality, but also spiritually enriches the lives of all in their orbit. Positive role modeling of honesty, integrity, and good character, which inspires and encourages others to do the same, is an example of empowering others to live lives of spiritual enrichment. When this type of person passes away, their body is interred in a Beis HaChaim, a house of the living, to signify that this person utilized this world to build their eternity, not only in future phases of life, but right here on earth, through the legions of people who were positively influenced through their role modeling and who will continue to follow in their footsteps, and that upon passing, this life remains fully alive and vibrant forever. Mr. Fred Burton Gross, Feivel Baruch ben Shmuel Mordechai and Devorah of blessed memory, was the quintessential embodiment of utilizing this world as a Beis Olam, as the canvas upon which he built his eternity, as well as utilizing this world as a Beis HaChaim, the canvas upon which he created legions of admirers who were so positively impacted by him that they seek to follow in his elevated and illustrious footsteps. The life of Mr. Fred Gross can be accurately summed up in the famous teaching of Rav Chaim of Volozhin, who said, Ki ha'adam le'nivra la'atzmai, elo lahaya la'achrini. For a person was created not for themselves. Rather, they were created to enrich the lives of others. Fred dedicated the entirety of his life to others. He was a loving and caring husband, tending to Brenda's every need. He was a warm, supportive father and doting grandfather, dedicated to and delighting in the success of each child and grandchild. His kindness was not limited to his nuclear family alone. It radiated powerfully to include his extended family, as well as every single person who was fortunate enough to enter his orbit. Who can forget how he invested mightily and studied with his grandson Itai, enabling him to graduate college? Who can forget how he went shopping for Mr. and Mrs. Finkelstein, elderly Holocaust survivors, every week? Who can forget how he helped Mr. Chaim Kress with his errands every week? Who can forget how he woke up extra early every morning for years and picked up Mr. Jack Schuster and drove him to and from shul? Who can forget how he arranged his daily work schedule around driving Brenda to and from the gym and swimming pool? Who can forget how he freely shared his time and wisdom, mentoring younger people seeking to earn a living and build a career? Who can forget how, as the shul candy man, he knew exactly what type of treat each child liked, and how he drove to Lakewood to purchase endless amounts of them, just to make sure the children were happy and loved coming to shul? Who can forget his deep, decades-long friendship and assistance to Dr. Zand? Who can forget how, as shul president, it was not beneath his dignity to help clean up every single Shabbos after the Kiddush, and how he would collect the unused challah rolls to distribute to less fortunate people? Who can forget his extraordinary dedication and love for the young men and women of the Israeli Defense Forces? Who can forget his largesse to his beloved FIDF and the battalions he sponsored? Would you like me to go on? I can, for many, many, many hours. We each have our stories, our connections, and our glimpses into the greatness, kindness, and compassion of this gigantic, caring heart encapsulated in the life of Mr. Fred Gross of blessed memory. My relationship with Fred began 22 years ago, on Friday evening, October 15th, 2004. That was the day that the Torah Links minion was born. Mrs. Yvette Zand of blessed memory called to tell me that her husband, Dr. Perry, may he live long and be well, would be joining our minion, and he would be bringing along a friend, Brenda Gross's husband, Fred. Fred walked into our minion and my heart that evening, and he never left. He became like a brother, a father, a friend, a mentor, and confidant to me. He was the powerful shoulder for me to lean on and the discreet listening ear for me to vent to whenever I needed. He became like a Zaidi to my children, spoiling them and loving them like only a Zaidi can. He also became the founding president and Candyman of Torah Links of South Jersey, positions he faithfully discharged until his last moment on earth. He also, at the urging of his Ashes Chayil Brenda, became a daily minyan goer and transformed his spiritual life, walking to shul on Shabbos and Yom Tov, attending classes and studying Torah seriously, performing mitzvos with attention to detail, and engaging in countless public and private acts of kindness and giving. There would not be a Krupnik family Torah Link Center without Mr. Fred Gross. When, as a nascent 501c3 nonprofit organization, with no credit or assets to our name, we sought to purchase a suitable property for our shul, it was a Herculean challenge to secure the necessary financing. Mr. Fred Gross, our president, stepped up to the plate. Not only did he personally guarantee the loan, he also locked up $1 million of collateral and a certificate of deposit at the bank. Who does that? You know anybody who does that? I do. Mr. Fred Gross. That's who. I often told him, Fred, unlike other well-known organizations who could reward your generosity with great honor, we are just a small organization without those abilities. But what we can reward you with is the gigantic eternal annuity of Torah, tefillah, mitzvos, chesed, and midos that will result from what you built. When Fred was first hospitalized a few months ago, I had the opportunity to spend a few private moments with him. He was animated and communicative. I expressed to him my hope that he would reach his 120th birthday, while gently explaining that one must also always be prepared for the next chapter of life. As I recited the Vida confession service with him, his demeanor changed, and he concentrated with great intensity. I also told him that as an attorney, he should prepare a powerful opening statement for when the eventual time would arrive for him to meet his Creator and argue his case before the heavenly court. I shared with him several surefire, winning legal arguments and claims to a lichtige Gan Eden. Number one, family. How he nurtured a magnificent family to love and support each other and to cherish their rich Jewish heritage. Number two, what he did for the Jewish people. How he vigorously supported a strong homeland for the Jewish people as a safe and holy haven to prosper and grow. Kindness, how he gave of himself unstintingly to every person and cause in his orbit, and also to every envelope that Brenda got a hold of. And number four, how he personally built a Torah community, empowering countless people from all walks of life to engage more deeply with their Jewish faith and heritage, leading to an abundance of Torah, tefillah, mitzvos, chesed, and good character. Feivel Baruch ben Shmuel Mordechai and Devorah, as your essence, your neshama, your soul, ascends upon high, we rest assured knowing that as you have utilized this world as a base olam, as the canvas upon which you built your eternity, and as you have utilized this world as a base hachayim, the canvas upon which you have created legions of admirers who are so positively impacted by you that they seek to follow in your elevated and illustrious footsteps, that the Almighty, accompanied by your ancestors, will surely usher you amid great pomp and circumstance to your magnificent heavenly abode. We ask of you, Fred, that as you stand in front of the heavenly throne, that you beseech the Almighty to give Brenda the strength to continue leading a long, healthy, and productive life. We ask that you advocate for good health, success, and prosperity on behalf of your children, grandchildren, and the entire extended family. We ask that you advocate for the physical and spiritual safety and security of the entire Jewish people around the globe. And finally, we ask that you beseech the Almighty to bring us all back to his home again in the holy city of Yerushalayim, speedily in our days, which will lead to a wiping away of the collective tears from all of our faces. Amen. Sam?
Wow. My dad would be so proud to see everyone. It's hard for me to describe the feeling to see all these people here. All the people that my dad touched. All the people that he became a part of your life and you became a part of his. And you became a part of our family. And I wrote some things down. I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible because I want my sisters to be able to speak as well. So I just wrote a couple things. This goes back to when I was a little boy, some of the memories that I have of my father, going back to the Hancock roast days. Some of you will remember that. And my father used to bring me to trade shows, and I would stand by him and watch him. And I would watch how he dealt with people and how he was bigger than life to me. And it shaped the way that I lived my life and the way that I became a version of him. Less, a lot of the attributes that he had, I never got. But I wanted to say that I'll miss our Friday talks. Every Friday, no matter where I was in the world, I had to pick up the phone when my father called me, and we'd have a talk. And he'd ask me what's going on in my life. I'd tell him. He'd tell me what's going on with my mom, all the things that you were doing together, Mom. He was so happy to take care of you and to do all the things that would make you happy. When I was a little boy, I played hockey. I played ice hockey. And I played on travel teams. And my father would get up with me at 3 o'clock in the morning and take me to all my games, all my practices. He was there for every step of the way. After the games, he would talk to me about how I played. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, and God forbid I got into a fight. He didn't like that. But I just remember spending time in the car with him, wherever we were traveling to. And those memories to me still will always be the most fondest memories I have of spending time with my father. Work advice throughout my career. My dad always gave me the best advice, and a lot of you here he gave advice to. You guys all know he gave the best advice as an advisor, as a friend, and as a colleague. He was the best. Always gave the most honest, caring advice, and there's nobody in this room that he didn't touch in some capacity. Family. Okay, this was the most important thing to my father. I look at his grandchildren and his children, and he had a special relationship with each one of you. And I think you all felt connected to him in a way that nobody else could make you feel. He just had a way of connecting with each and every one of you. His son-in-laws, his daughter-in-law, my wife, he loved you guys. In every way, he loved you guys with all his heart, whether it was spending the weekend with the Neitiches in Manhattan, spending the weekend in Hoboken, and spending time with my sister Becky and her new husband Stephen Patesh. He loved you guys with all his heart. "65 years, Mom. 65 years. You guys have been together for 65 years. What an amazing accomplishment. He was so devoted to you, to everything that you could possibly need, taking you everywhere you needed to go, and foregoing a lot of things because he didn't want to leave you. He loved you so much. And we do too. So my dad's love for his family was matched by his love for Israel. And he believed deeply in the importance of supporting the Jewish homeland. And he dedicated himself to causes that strengthen the future of Israel. He was proud to stand behind the men and women of the IDF and with the FIDF. He gave generously to charities that built schools, hospitals, and opportunities for people of Israel. His passion was not just about a place, but it was about ensuring the generations to come would have a safe place to live and a thriving future. And I just want to say, when I was a little boy, I said to my father, why give so much to Israel? Why is there so much passion for Israel? I didn't understand. I was a little boy. I didn't understand. And he said to me, Sam, one day we might have to go back there and live there. And so it's very important that we support Israel and our homeland. And listen, today, we all know what's going on in the world today. And I see it now. And I even said to my father, before this all happened, I said, now I understand, Dad. This was about 3 months ago on our Friday call. I said, now I understand why you did that. I understand how important it was, because we might have to go back there. We might one day. So, listen, my father gave selflessly. He never asked for anything in return. He worked tirelessly so that we could thrive. And he taught us that true strength comes from kindness and sacrifice. And he was the man who believed that the measure of a life is not what you take, but it's what you give. Really. So, Dad, thank you for everything. We love you. We'll carry you with me for the rest of my life. I will miss you. Thank you.
Andrea?
As we were struggling these last 3 months, one of the thoughts that kept me going, kept me positive, was knowing that I was blessed, not having regrets for not having spent enough time with my dad and both of my parents. Not that we ever have enough time, but in the last 4 years, I and all my siblings have spent true quality and quantity time with my mom and dad. My husband Yigal and I and my siblings have had the privilege of getting to know my dad in a whole new way, deeper and more personal. We've been blessed to have them stay with us on Shabbatot in Hoboken and in New York City with my sisters. For the first time, they allowed us to cater to them, to spoil them, to entertain them. And spoil and entertain them we did. Shabbat and holidays on the Upper East Side with Daniela and Becky catering to their every need. Dance productions choreographed and performed by Eden, Alex, and Ruby. Shabbat dinners that expanded to include new family members, Stephen Patesh, and Carol's new husband and father-to-be, Andrew. And Shabbat services at KJ, which my father particularly enjoyed. How special were those many visits to our new home in Hoboken, the very first of which somehow ended with my parents moving straight into our bedroom. I didn't have the heart to tell them that the guest room was already prepared. We enjoyed Shabbat dinners, even though the menu was the same every time. Salad, salmon, sweet potatoes, and string beans. The only food my mom allowed my dad to have. But they both always praised my cooking, the best salmon they've ever had. And once in a while, we managed to sneak my father some forbidden delicacies when my mom wasn't looking. We got to know our town of Hoboken together. We took walks along the Hudson. We enjoyed people watching. We went to Shabbat services at the Hoboken Chabad, where my dad quickly made friends with Rabbi Shapiro. But the real fun began with the entertainment that my father loved the most and came to expect, curated especially for him by my husband Yigal. Yigal came to know all of his favorite songs, which he would play while my father rested on the sofa and would begin singing along. I didn't even know about Harry Belafonte and his songs Deo and Jamaica Farewell. I never imagined that these songs would come to be the anthems of our final 3 months with him in the hospital. Songs we now all know by heart, along with the nurses, doctors, and medical staff who cared for him. Yigal selected movies he knew my dad would love, Fauda being a favorite, along with Run Boy Run, a story similar to my parents' dear friends and Holocaust survivors, the Finkelsteins, who we heard about earlier. May they rest in peace. Most of all, I loved watching my parents together. They seemed to have fallen in love all over again. They held hands and danced. There was flirting, giggling, and sometimes, how should I put this, some frisky behavior, which will bring both smiles and blushes to our faces for years to come. I never took those moments for granted, not a single one. And every visit, I would say to myself, will this one be the last? Did I savor every moment? About 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I spoke with my dad. We had a plan to celebrate Thanksgiving at my brother-in-law Yuval's house, and then spend the long weekend together in Hoboken. But that was not to be. And while I wish with all my heart that we could have had that last weekend together, doing all of our favorite things, I also know that I will hold dear and treasure every moment of those last special 4 years. Thank you all for being here to celebrate him. So proud of you, Dad.
If you know me, you know I don't go anywhere without my girls. So here we are. Okay. I never thought I would have to stand here and speak about my dad in the past. It doesn't feel natural because to me, he was always so present, so alive, and so full of energy. My father lived until his 88th birthday, January 26th. And I never once thought of him as an old man because he wasn't. He did more in one day than most people do in a week. In a single day, he went to shul, went to the gym, did the grocery shopping for himself and others, drove my mother to her appointments, and that was all before he even went to work. He was still a full-time attorney at 87 years old. Then, of course, he went back to shul. He never stopped. He lived with purpose and momentum and somehow always had more to give. In my eyes, my father could do anything. He always had the answers, and he knew how to fix any problem. I was always Daddy's little girl. I still am. I sat on his lap. I cuddled next to him in bed. Those moments, quiet and simple, are the ones I will miss the most. Sorry. We also had our guilty pleasures. Every year we watched the Miss America pageant together. Even when we weren't physically together, we made sure to call each other to discuss the contestants. It was our tradition. I think I inherited my love of Broadway musicals from my dad. He knew every word to every song, and we sang them together. It only got better when Stephen was joining us on the piano. I always knew my father was amazing. As a little girl, I remember him sitting at the dining room table with law books piled all around him. At the time, going back to law school in his 40s, with 4 kids, working all day, and going to school all night seemed normal. It was just who he was. But as I grew older, had children of my own, and entered my 40s, I realized that only someone with his determination, discipline, and quiet strength could accomplish that. And earning a law degree wasn't enough. He went on to get a master's in law simply because he wanted to push himself further. And then on top of his full-time law career, he went on to teach business law at a local university. Despite all he achieved, my father never sought attention or praise. He loved the simple things in life and the people he encountered along the way. Over the last 3 months, as we slowly took over the many things my father once did so effortlessly, we were overwhelmed by the number of people whose lives he had touched. The woman at the post office, the coffee clerk at Wawa, the pharmacist at Walmart, my mother's hairstylist, the bank teller, the security guard at Shul. Again and again, we heard the same thing, how much they loved talking to my father, how he brightened their day. He left kindness everywhere he went, often without even realizing it. My father loved his family deeply. He loved my husband as if he were his own son, and nothing brought him more pride or joy than his 3 granddaughters, Eden, Alex, and Ruby. All of them, to be perfectly honest. Being a grandfather was one of the greatest pleasures of his life. He never took a moment for granted, telling us how much he loves us and how proud he was of us. My father lived his life with purpose, kindness, and quiet strength. He showed us what it means to work hard, to care deeply, and to show up for family, for community, for his country as a veteran, and for Israel. I will continue living my life in a way that I know would make him proud. Daddy, thank you for everything. I love you. Okay, you get to go first. You don't want to? Okay. No. Go ahead.
Okay. Here, I have it on my phone. Go ahead. Hi, I'm Eden.
And I'm Alex, and we are Fred's grandchildren.
There are no words to explain how grateful I am for you.
You were such a special person, and I think everyone who knew you would say the same.
You had a special way of spreading joy wherever you went.
You did so much for everyone surrounding you.
You made our family complete, and you always will.
You made me feel safe, loved, and happy.
I wish I could have more hugs, one more kiss, and just one more time to lay beside you.
Although I never wanted this to happen, I know that you were in a better place than you were for the past 3 months.
I know you were close to Hashem and looking down at the family you created. Love and miss you always.
Sorry, we all need the spotlight. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ruby, and I'm the 9th and youngest grandchild of my grandpa. I loved when he came to my house in the city for Shabbat and other holidays. When he took me to the park, I will always remember how at the Passover Seder, Poppy would ask us questions and give us chocolate when we got the answer right. Poppy always liked when I gave him big hugs. Always when he walked into the door, he would do a special whistle. It was his way of saying, I'm home. I'm going to miss when Poppy would walk me to school and saying hi to him when we went to shul. He always sat in the same seat, so I knew where to find him. Poppy loved watching sports and the news on TV. And he always had one spot on the couch that makes him fall asleep. Thank you, Poppy, for always being with me and helping me whenever I needed it. I will miss you so much.
I'll keep this quick. I'll try. I loved my father-in-law dearly. I respected him since I entered the family, I guess unofficially in 2006. We've had a great relationship and had lots of one-on-one time. And when I sat down last night to write a few words, Daniela did the same. We compared notes at midnight, and 80% of our speech overlapped. But hers was better. Admittedly, I didn't sit on his lap and cozy with him in bed. So we let her run with it. I gave her my proxy. And so the 20%, I guess, of my speech that didn't overlap with Daniela's, and I'll just, which didn't get discussed so much today, so I just feel like it should be referenced a tad. Sam mentioned it a little bit, was just what an unbelievable businessman he was. We've talked so much about him as a father and a grandfather and a family man and a philanthropist and the president of the shul and everything else, but I think it should be noted that in his 20s, 30s, early 40s, before he went to law school, he was an incredible businessman, going back to his family-run business of Hancock Gross, which was, believe it or not, Fred was the first exclusive plumbing supplier to what is now Home Depot. So if you just think about how amazing that is, and what's also amazing is he asked to be paid in cash as opposed to what would now be Home Depot stock. So that was probably a pretty bad move on his part, but I think he did okay. And a few years later, for those who didn't know, he worked for a company called Wilmar Industries. He was an executive there, and in his late 30s or early 40s, helped take that company public. That company is, I believe they are still a vertical under Home Depot today, that Home Depot acquired. So there's just all of these amazing things. I didn't mean to focus really on the business side of things, but I think it shouldn't be lost just how incredible he was at really every vertical of his life that he touched. I will say, just in closing, the past 3 months have been very difficult, obviously, for the family, but in many ways I found it to be very uplifting. We've been together at the house that everyone who's spoken today grew up in, and just looking back at old pictures, family albums, sharing stories has been it's been actually an incredible experience, and my hope is that over the coming days at the Shiva and the Shul, and just as we continue to discuss and talk over the coming days, we should share more amazing anecdotes about Fred. So thank you, everyone. We're going to miss you, Fred. We love you.
Hi, everyone. I'll be honest, it was hard to sit down and write this, but I don't think anything I say can fully explain how much my Saba meant to me or the role he played in my life, but I'll do my best. Saba wasn't just my grandfather. He was my best friend, and I'm pretty sure I was his too. We were inseparable. We had our own jokes and our own way of communicating. Half the time, we didn't even need words. Some of my favorite memories are the simplest ones. Just sitting together, talking about everything and nothing, laughing at the same things. He just got me, and I got him. When I was going through a time where I had a lot to prove to myself, Saba was right there. College wasn't easy for me. Figuring out my own path wasn't easy either, but he never doubted me. That's where "we'll show him" came from. We'll show him. It was our thing, our way of saying we're in this together. Years later, at my college graduation, I looked out, and there he was, holding a sign that said, "We showed him." I'll never forget that moment. That Saba, always showing up, always believing, and always in my corner. We were buddies. He played into every joke and every bit. He didn't have a ton of patience and could be stubborn, but he always made time for me. Sitting with me late nights also got me out of more traffic tickets than I probably deserved. He always had my back. I'm going to miss the little things that made us laugh. The routines, the inside jokes, the shared looks, the quiet moments, and the bond that only we had. Saba, I love you. And I promise you, we showed him, and we'll keep showing him. Yeah.
In the last few days, I've been reflecting and thinking a lot about how Saba had a different relationship with each of us. He had a way of making every person feel like they were his favorite, and somehow it always felt true. When I think of my Saba, I think of presence. He showed up for his family, for his community, and for the people that he cared about. My grandpa was so handsome. He was so charming, and everyone knew it. He was generous with his time, his energy, his heart. He was a proud supporter and donor of Israel. He was also a deeply loved and highly respected president of Torah Links. And these weren't just organizations to him. They were reflections of his values, of his mitzvot, and the life he chose to live. In the midst of the sadness and the grief, I found myself holding on to how full and meaningful his life was. 88 years of memories and the beautiful legacy he left behind that we now carry forward. In the small everyday moments that he loved, whistling his famous whistle when he walked through the door, that's how you knew Saba was home. Carving turkey on Thanksgiving, coffee runs at Wawa, sitting on the couch, watching football, and without warning, getting your toes pulled. Singing Broadway songs at the top of our lungs. These are the places we will continue to see him. Sorry. It gives me solace to know that he's in heaven at peace, looking down at the family that he built and the tremendous legacy that he left behind. I am so proud to have had a man like him as my Saba. And I'm going to spend my life trying to live in a way that would make him proud. I miss you and I love you, Saba.
So I'm the new guy in town, and I'll try to encapsulate what I've learned from Fred Gross. When someone lives to 88 years old, you expect to hear that they lived a full life. But with my father-in-law, Fred Gross, it wasn't just full, it was overflowing. Overflowing with purpose, with integrity, with love for his family, his community, his religion, and his people. I was only blessed to be a part of this family for the last few years, just about 5 of them. But it didn't take long to understand that I had joined something very special. And more importantly, that I had joined a family led by a very special man. Since his stroke, people keep telling stories. Stories are coming out of the woodworks about things that he did that no one even knew about. Acts of kindness, mentorship, quiet pro bono legal help, support given without recognition. Even I heard last night that somebody wrote a chapter in their book that they wrote about Fred Gross. Because that is who he was. He didn't do things for attention or applause. He did them because it was the right thing to do. He was honorable, truly by the book. In fact, he didn't just follow the book, he wrote the book. A businessman at heart, a retailer, a manufacturer, a wholesaler, then a lawyer. Oh, and let's not forget, he was a law professor also. Brilliant in the deepest sense of the word. Not flashy smart, but real smart. He had lived, seen, and experienced just about everything. I can tell you personally, he loved hearing my business stories and understood them like no one else. I really enjoyed those conversations. He had this way of listening that made you feel that what you were saying mattered. But with all his accomplishments, what mattered most to him was not the titles or the recognition, it was his family. He was an unbelievable father and grandfather, unconditional in his love for every one of his children and grandchildren, a true family man in every sense of the word. And of course, as the saying goes, behind every successful woman, besides every successful man, is a wonderful woman. Brenda Gross, a true Eshet Chayil. The way he took care of his wife, the devotion, the partnership, the respect, it was something to learn from. And sure I did. A real-life example of what love and commitment look like over a lifetime. 63 years, 65 years to be married, to be exact. That's unbelievable. In shul, he was everyone's father, president of the shul. He helped build the shul, as the rabbi said. He was the candy man and loved it, and he was so proud. He was in shul every day at 6:45 with warmth, laughter, and fun. And something you don't know, which inspired me dramatically, is one Friday night, I think it was at Daniela's apartment, he took off his shirt, and he was wearing tzitzit, and I was amazed. I couldn't believe it. I said, if he can wear tzitzit, so could I. And after that day, I started wearing tzitzit every day. He motivated me without even me knowing it, without even him knowing it. Family, giving back, shul, work, that was his order of priorities, and he never mixed it up. He adopted 2 battalions through the FIDF that everybody heard, where he served on the board and gave of himself generously and proudly. He was a philanthropist, not just with money, but with time, heart, and presence. People called him Superman. People called him a legend, and honestly, they weren't wrong. Yet what makes him even more remarkable is how humble he was about it. He did everything naturally, quietly, without any flash, without a show, just doing what he needed to be done for family, friends, and for strangers who became friends. And then there's this moment, the fact that he left this world on his birthday, 88 years, to the very day, almost as if he completed his mission. Closed the circle and said, I've done what I came here to do. On a personal note, I just want to say I'm so grateful that I joined this family, so grateful that I got to know him, to learn from him, to laugh with him, and to feel his warmth. There was this day, I just want to add a little personal note, there was this day about 6 months ago when we were walking to shul together one Shabbat, and he took me aside and said, Stephen, I'm so glad you joined our family, and I love you very much. And I want to say to him directly, I love you too. Your legacy is not only in what you built, but in the people you shaped, in your children, in your grandchildren, in your community, and in all the lives you've touched, many of whom are only now realizing just how much you did for them. You were accomplished, you were experienced, you were honorable and true, but above all, you were a man who loved deeply, quietly, and completely. And that love will continue to guide this family for generations to come. I want to give a shout out to the entire family for being so devoted to your dad during these last few months. And of course to my wife, Besters, which is what her parents called her, Besters was her nickname, my wife Rebecca, of how proud I am of how she took care of her father in the hospital and didn't leave one stone unturned. Morning, noon, and night. She was his attorney, his advocate, whatever it was, she did it. She made sure it was right. And it's something special that I will never forget. So impressed and so proud of you. I love you so much. Fred, we love you. May your memory be a blessing. And may we all try in our own way to live by the example you set. Thank you.
I'm going to try and keep it brief and try not to repeat. I had to get up here for two reasons. One is Rabbi Sobrowski said so. Another, as one who feels like a child of Fred's, as a son, I need to stand here as well. I came to Cherry Hill, I was 28 years old. Fred was probably 70 and adopted me and my family. Treated me like a son, maybe even better. Fred, or as I called you, Mr. President, you probably knew how special you were, that you loved everyone. And maybe you even knew how much we loved you. But I think I could say with confidence, you didn't know what a prince of a person you were. A prince who loved everyone, who cared about every single person. A prince who taught us to love ourselves and to believe in ourselves. A prince who every stage of her life, as difficult as it was, fought to complete the task. As mentioned, working in a family business, then losing his job, having started a new career, having 4 children at home, he did it. 65 years of marriage with all the challenges and beautiful things that it comes with. And he did it like a prince. Being the president of a shul is a terrible job, not recommended. It was not easy. Very little recognition for what he did. And many times, agmas nefesh, painful situations that he had to deal with. But he stayed with it for 22 years and didn't just build a building. He continued to build people. He built a community. He built a legacy. Fred, you were a prince. This prince is now going to go up to Melech Malchei Amlachim. To go in front of the King of all kings. So Mr. Sobrowski said so beautifully, it's time to advocate for all those people that you love. All those people that you built, all those people you cared for. To go up to Shemayim and ask the King of all kings as his prince, as his person who spent 88 years, not floating through life, but constantly growing and changing. At 65 years old, to decide to go to shul, to take on Torah mitzvahs, to always be ready to change and grow. That's your legacy. And you succeeded. To beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu that your children and grandchildren go b'derech ha'emes v'hayasher as you wanted. Wrong was wrong, and right was right. There was nothing in between. There's nothing that felt right or it felt wrong. There was right and there was wrong, and you expected out of your children, including all your extended family, that we should do what's right. Daven to Hashem, v'akisi ha'kovod, for all your extended children in Eretz Yisrael, who you worried and davened for, not just supported. Sometimes you can write the check, but do we care? Is it just popular to go to a dinner and write a check? You did both. You pulled out that checkbook with the support of your Eishes Chayil, and you cared deeply and worried about every soldier and every Jew. Daven HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we selfishly, I ask that we should be reunited B'Karov. We should be reunited again with the special prince that we had for so many years. The Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people, should once again be safe and secure. That we should all be able to do the will of Hashem. And as you, on your beautiful journey and your beautiful life, brought so much nachas to Hashem, we should continue that legacy and bring nachas to Him, be reunited b'mheir b'yameinu in your beloved land in Eretz HaKdosha. Yehi Zichro Baruch.
We're about to recite the memorial prayer. Before we do, I just want to make mention of the fact that the family, over the past 3 months, did everything possible that they could do to honor Fred's wishes, his desires, and to make decisions together and to follow halacha, and they did so in an extraordinary fashion. This past Thursday, the last time I had an opportunity to spend time with Fred, I came into the room and he looked like an angel. He was glowing. He just looked like a malach. He looked like a person who knew that he had fulfilled his mission. We have the custom that we ask for forgiveness from our dear departed. Even though we tried our utmost to do everything that we possibly could, but one never knows. Maybe there was a moment that he was in pain that we didn't recognize. So on behalf of all of us, I'm going to ask Feivel Baruch, Ben Shmuel Mordechai and Devaret to grant us for forgiveness in case inadvertently we did something which may have caused him some pain. Now I'm going to ask my son Chaim to come up to recite the memorial prayer. We can all stand. We can all rise.
El molei rachamim shoichein bam roimim yamtzei menuchon echoino al kanfi ashechino b'malois kedoishim utahirim kizoyar akiyam azhirim es nishmas Feivel Baruch Ben Shmuel Mordechai Shalach Loilamoi Bavur Shanachnu Mispalalim Baraskaras Nishmasai Biganei Dente Menuchasai Lochein Balorachamim Yastireu Beseiser Kinafav Loilamim V'yitzrar B'tzrar Chayim Es Nishmasai Adonai hu nachalosai v'yanuach b'shaloi man b'shkavai v'noi mar amen.
We may all be seated. In a few moments, the pallbearers will come to the front, and we'll begin the process of the mitzvah of halvayas hames, of escorting Fred upon his final earthly journey. Before we do so, the Shiva will be observed in the shul that Fred built together with Brenda. All are invited to come and to spend time with the family. After the funeral, from 4 o'clock until 7 o'clock this evening, we'll have a prayer service at some point during that time. And the rest of the days of the Shiva as well will be held at the Torah Link Center as well.